What's going on? Craig here. This podcast is a conversation that I had with Anne Marie, one of the alumni of my Jaunty classes, who took a big step up and became our community manager for a while. And since then, she's actually been a part of community development and community management for several different projects, including building her own community online. So in this conversation, we talk about community management as well as online group relationship building. If this is something you're interested in, enjoy.
So welcome on. How's everything been for you or this past? I mean, it's been a while since we talked. It's been probably like since earlier in the pandemic.
Yeah, it has been a while. Well, because of the pandemic, I've been online more. I've been doing a lot of get-togethers online. So I run I Will Survive, which is like a social group. So every week, well, almost just about every week since the pandemic started, I've been getting people together just to make sure that they feel connected and that there's some semblance of, fun while they're locked up or under lockdown. So it's been fun, and it's been an interesting journey with that because, just as in real life, when you're hosting events or getting people together, you kind of become like the den mother for the people involved in the group, and people will come to you.
Kind of like that too. I mean, with lots of events that we've had in our Jaunty community and just other events that you put on, you're always like building the community around yourself in a way, which is awesome, which is like a great strategy, right? You always have the resources, you always have people around you, but then people start to look at you as the leader.
Yeah, they definitely do. Either the leader or someone who can help with figuring out how to get along,
Okay, so part of being the leader is like, all right, let's make sure everybody's clicking together.
The ombuds person,
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it happens.
Has that been hard during your virtual events?
There have been several times when I've had to help people figure out how to get along with each other or decide whether they even still want to be in the group or not. I try to help them figure it out on their own. But it can be really, I don't know, it can cause anxiety. Honestly, because the whole reason that I'm doing it is for everyone to really enjoy themselves and to connect. And, obviously that's not going to happen. There are a lot of strong personalities. And we usually will deal with it offline, but sometimes I'll have to deal with it online where I'll actually notice or listen to people. And just this past event, we had a watch party and game night. We were watching Coming to America, and then we had a game night afterwards. It actually was not hosted by me, but one of my co-moderators. And but anyways, I was still there, and I noticed that someone said, "I'm not having a good time. I'm not having a good time." And I saw her facial expression, and I was like, "Okay, I'm so sorry that you're not having a good time." And then I realized the reason she wasn't having a good time was because we had a strong personality in the group, who is not necessarily high on the social intelligence levels. Okay. So,
a little abrasive, maybe
a bit abrasive, and very like commonsensical, very like, this is how it's done. And that doesn't make sense. And so it doesn't necessarily create this environment of fun-loving, loose, kind of like, let's just have fun. It's about the rules and about sticking to them and what makes sense. And there are people that are not like that. And so it can cause, hurt feelings or just discomfort. So my way of doing that was, well, I already knew this person, how this person was. So I basically put it out there like, oh, you know, this person is so commonsensical. It makes him annoyingly lovable or something like that. Or, you know, I just tried to put it out there so people could label the feeling that they were having, or label at least what was causing that feeling.
And associate it with something positive, it sounds like.
Yeah, and associate it with something positive. And so people laughed it off and like, okay, I get it now. I know why I'm feeling this way. Because realizing how you feel, why you feel a certain way, can really help you also deal with your feelings.
Yeah.
And be more accepting of the situation. I mean, that not that you have to accept, but you know.
Well, totally. Sometimes I have to take like a couple days to figure out how I'm feeling. Like I actually went on a like solo cabin retreat a week and a half ago just to kind of think and like be with myself and spend some time really thinking, you know, where do I want to go with things, you know, that are coming up in my life, and, you know, having some other personal thoughts, but also, you know, processing my emotions and thinking, what, like, how am I feeling right now? Like I know I'm stressed. You know, the pandemic has been a year. You know, I've been stuck inside, and the sun is starting to come out here in New York City, and, you know, it's like starting to be springtime, and I've been like stuck inside all week, you know, just working from home, and I don't even have that commute to like actually get some sunlight or exercise, you know, just a little walk. And you know, it took me a little bit of like thinking about like what I really want, you know, what I really am feeling, to be able to understand that and then process and figure out what I'm going to do about it from there. Right. Or even just how I'm going to respond to that feeling from there.
Yeah.
In fact, like, you know, here's something like on Friday, I had a call with a prospective Jaunty student. And she like scheduled this meeting with me. You know, I don't know anything about her. She came to one of my workshops, and I'm just trying to get to know her, and like what her situation is. And it's like the end of the day for me. It's like, you know, 5-6 p.m. on a Friday, and I've been through it. You know, I've been like super stressed out, and I'm just like, all right, like I don't have much time. I'm trying to get to know, you know, what's going on with this lady and how I can help. And she wasn't really opening up, and she wasn't telling me what she wanted. And part of it was she was saying like, well, I don't know if what you provide can help me. And she started insinuating some things, and I kind of judged that she was like insinuating that because I'm a man and she's a woman, I can't help her. And she even asked questions like how many women work at Jaunty and stuff. And I was like, how's this relevant? I'm like, I'm just trying to get to know what's going on with you so I can see if, you know, I'm not even trying to sell you anything yet, you know?
Yeah.
And I was getting really frustrated, like really, like, she's like, are you being defensive right now? And I was like, at the moment I said no, but then like a few minutes, you know, like after the call, I was like, yeah, I am defensive because, you know, I had to like think about it. I was like, yeah, I am defensive because like, I know I have good intentions. And like, I know that like what I do can help people, and so she's not believing me or whatever, you know. It's like a, I don't know, maybe it's like a part of my ego or something, or just my identity. It's like, you know, this is a part of my identity, and you're saying that I don't have good intentions here, or that I can't help you. And I'm like, this is what I'm here for. Yeah. And so like I was like, my identity was like threatened, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I think I came off a little abrasive with her, and she actually like, she's like, well, I don't want to waste your time, and she like hung up off I was like, what the fuck? Like I wasn't like yelling at her. I was just like, I'm just trying to get to know what's going on here, and like, it sounds like you're unsure of me. And then she just, you know, she just kind of went from there. And I called her and like left her an apology voicemail and like left her an email and stuff. But you know, I can't control everybody. You know, I can't control anybody. I don't want to control anybody. But, you know, it always hurts, right? It always hurts when that type of thing happens. It's like, you know, you have good intentions, like with you and your community, right? The I Will Survive people. Yeah. You have a dream or a goal, a vision of how you want the group to be. And then when people are not playing nice or interacting in a positive way, then like it gets kind of scary. You're like, oh, so do you have like ground rules, or how do you like prevent that? I mean, other than intervening in the moment when things arise, like, is there like a group rules or something?
There are group rules when you sign on to the Facebook group, but I don't review the rules every time, a social night happens.
Right. No, what you should do is like have a whistle and give out yellow cards and red cards.
Yeah.
I went to a party. Actually, I went to a party years ago where it was an unplugged party. So everybody had to like turn off their cell phones. They couldn't have any electronics. Even had to have like, if you had cameras, they had to be like those disposable, like film cameras. And
okay. Yeah.
like no watches, nothing.
Yeah.
And if people pulled out their cell phone, there was somebody dressed up as a referee. And they would blow the whistle, so everybody sees, and then they pull a red card or
personal
a yellow
foul.
card. Yeah, and on the card there was like something that they had to do, like a punishment, like you have to take a mystery shot or something like that.
Oh, so, I love that.
Yeah, it made it fun.
Yeah, right? That's awesome. Yeah, if there's a way to make it fun, then yeah, for sure, I would do that. But for the most part, I don't review the rules every time.
You just threaten to dox them, right? That's like if they're in community guideline violation. Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't do that.
Okay. You just talk shit about them to everyone else in the private chats, right? Is that what you be passive aggressive?
No, people have to be careful about talking shit about other people in the private chats on Zoom. For the host can see those chats. They can see those chats.
Oh, they can? Oh, if they look in?
The host, the person that's controlling the Zoom meetings. At least the way my Zoom settings are, it does automatically save all the chats.
Oh, right. So you can download it and look and stuff.
It just automatically downloads it for you. Yeah. And if you open it, all you got to do is click on it.
There you go.
And see all the
I've had workshops where people were trying to private message and they accidentally just sent it to everyone.
Yes, that happens too.
And it made them look real bad.
Oh yeah, you have to be careful about that. Yeah, for sure.
Go for it.
I was gonna say Zoom has been very interesting as far as like social and emotional intelligence. There have been things that I've realized that really affects the people that are in the video chat with you. I mean, just lighting or your surroundings. People have these first impressions of you, and it's just a kind of an extension of who you are, and how you present yourself, and that that really affects the way people feel about you, feel about themselves, and how you affect them.
For sure. I think I think especially with like online stuff, communication is so much more different. Like even if we have this video and you can see my facial expression and you can hear my voice, there's still a bit missing compared to like the in-person stuff, right? Like you can't see everything my body language is doing, right? Like,
yes. And
even then, even if you could see everything, it's there's just still a vibe that you get when you're in person with somebody. And so, things that I try to tell people who are trying to get better with, like, maybe they're doing interviews in Zoom, or maybe they're, they're having events and they want to get out and be social. It's like, part of it is the actual presentation, right? Like get some good lighting so it shines on your face, not behind you. And if you're going to give a presentation or you're going to be speaking in a meeting, you have to be a little bit more expressive, like 10, like not 10 times more, but like maybe like 50% more expressive in how you use your face and your vocal tone and things like that,
Yeah.
you know, because it just doesn't come off as easily as in person.
Very true. I have a lot to say about that. Having been a performer and someone in the audience who is trying to show support for my performer friends. You know, when you're performing, you really feed off of your audience. And you know, if they're doing things like this, or like yawning, or just like looking at the time, or just, you know, looking at their phone. I mean, when I do this, you can tell I'm looking on my phone or something, right? I mean, people see that. And so it's so important that, you know, as you said, you know, being more expressive. You know, when I was in the audience supporting a performer friend, I was even more expressive. I would clap like exaggeratedly. I would show that I was smiling. I'd jump up and down and make myself big.
Watching
You know,
their performance becomes your performance.
yeah, I mean, I suppose, I mean, I guess you could say that, but that was not my intent. You know, my intent is to show support. And as a performer, that is so important. And I've seen this happen online, being a karaoke fan and loving to sing. I have a friend, his name is DJ Purple. He does Zoomaroke, right? And I've noticed
Plugging
that
DJ Purple right now.
I have to.
When's
I
he do
have
it?
to.
When's he do it?
Fridays, Saturdays, I think Thursdays too.
Right.
Anyways, he'll do this Zoomaroke stuff, and there'll be, you know, the participants there, and a lot of them will just be sitting there staring at the screen. And for the person that's singing, it makes you wonder, like, oh, maybe this person is bored or doesn't like the way I'm singing. So every time I'm on there, I try to dance and show that I'm interested, unless I can't be, but for the most part, show that I'm interested by smiling or clapping along or dancing. And I actually was inspired to do this as well in the online form by Sarah Thomas, who's also Jaunty. When she would attend my I Will Survive events, she would like either have, I don't know, like bunny ears or a stuffed animal, and she'd like move it around, or she'd like be more expressive. And that energy really really came through the screen. And so
Yes.
she inspired me in this online environment to, you know, she reminded me of that. And so I make sure to be that energetic person whenever I can be.
I think a big piece of this is that because you are in Zoom, you are on screen. Like, you are now a piece of like media, right? Like,
Yes.
being you know,
Yeah.
on a Zoom call. And you know, there are people who never ever aspire to be in media, and there are people who never want to be in front of a crowd, but that's kind of what it is. I mean, unless you're doing one-on-one, you know, like us, even so, you know, with the one-on-one, because we're on a screen, we have to present in a media form, because we can't just be there. You know, I have to have a little bit more expression. I have to be a little bit, you know, I want to keep your attention, right? Like my video camera, this is a video camera and my screen is down here. So like, to look at you, I'm not even looking, it doesn't even look like I'm looking at you when I'm looking at your image. So I'm, you know, when you're listening or when you're speaking, it's really important to be looking at that camera. Or you know, you can look away when you're listening a little bit, but when you're speaking, when you're in front of everybody and being the attention piece, right? You have to be engaging, right? And part of being engaging is looking at somebody or looking at the camera.
Yeah. Looking at the camera, which is very uncomfortable to do. Things that I've done to, I mean, with you bringing that up, it's like brought a lot of things up into my head. Just the fact that, well, I majored in film. I have a degree in or specialization in film. And so, you know, if you look, if you, it's kind of like thinking of yourself at being on screen in a movie. You know, what do people do? or what do film directors do? They'll have people change the angle, you know, if you want to cause anxiety, kind of like something's off about what's happening. Or if you want to have the subject in the film look as if they're a giant, or, you know, someone who's domineering, you have the angle at a lower, you have the camera at a lower
right.
angle.
It makes it look,
right,
look up to them, and yeah,
right. Or shaking the camera, or even the lighting, right? You can look very ominous depending on how the lack of lighting or where the lighting is, things like that. So it's really good to think of yourself as being on screen in a movie when you're setting yourself up. So a lot of things that I will do, like if you're using Zoom, there is an option to change the video placement of your participants. So it helps to have the photo or the photo or the video of the participant you're speaking to right under the camera. That helps. Also, if you don't have control over that, just moving the actual window underneath the camera. You know, you can do things like that if you don't feel comfortable just looking at the camera, because it can be kind of an uncomfortable thing. Another thing, I realize that some people feel uncomfortable when they can see themselves.
Yeah,
so they're often very self-conscious, or
I don't get uncomfortable. I just only want to see myself. Like when I'm in, like I'm looking at like when I'm like looking on Zoom or something, I'm just looking at me, what I look like. I'm like, like what's the right angle and stuff. I don't know. I think a lot of people are like that too.
Yeah, I mean, but it also can like really affect your mental health too, especially if you have some body image issues and things like that. So you can actually turn off your video. So you don't have to be, you know, attacked by your own face the whole time.
Turn it off so that you don't see your video.
Exactly.
But other people do. Other people
can, but you don't. You know, obviously, before you get on a video chat, you want to look in the mirror, make sure you're presentable. You check your teeth, make sure there's no spinach on it or whatnot. You know, and then you can just let that go, and then go on your video chat and just look at everyone else and not worry about how you look. I mean, if it really, you know, if you really need to, just have like a mirror to the side or something. But
we're talking so much about like the video aspect, but I think like audio is even more important.
That's true.
When it comes to interacting with people online, and especially in media, just, you know, if you're going to make a video, like the most important aspect is having good audio, because if I come in talking sound like this and you can't really understand what I'm saying, so how are we communicating? You know, like how do we communicate? You know, we use words, we use our voice, we use, you know, that function. And I mean, I can look at you all I want and try to say words without the volume, and you can kind of get an idea of what that is. But you know, ultimately having good quality audio. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is, you know, you're in agreement here. Everybody should buy a $700 microphone.
No, not everybody should buy a $700 microphone. I mean, I don't have one. Can you hear me clearly?
What? Yes.
Yeah. So I actually do these interviews of crypto artists. So audio is really important. And so there have definitely been problems. So I always, because sometimes they're, you know, across the world. So I always tell them, have a wired mic on, you know, just in case. So you have a direct connection to, you know, the recording device on your laptop or your computer or whatever you're using. But also there's, you know, in group environments, like the I Will Survive group, there are people who will get excited and they'll talk over each other. And so it really is, it becomes the responsibility of the person hosting to help the conversation flow. And also if you're a participant, you know, to just be observant of, when you're talking over someone and just being polite. But it does help for the host to actually, let someone talk and then remember that someone else wanted to say something, and also say, hey, I realized that you wanted to say something, giving them that platform and making sure that they feel heard. You want people to feel safe and also feel heard.
Yeah, you have to kind of curate and moderate, right?
Exactly. It's really important.
And that's part of like, I think with any large group activity, you kind of have to have a little bit of leadership involved there, especially if it's online. And when you have this clusterfuck of just voices coming in, and being able to moderate that is important, because in real life, you're moderated by the amount of actual physical space, right? Like nobody's going to be in a circle of 40 people and everybody trying to talk to everybody at the same time. It's usually there's people on the sides and stuff like that. And it's interesting, we haven't really figured out a way to translate that digitally. I mean, outside of maybe like VR. Have you tried like any VR chat rooms, like VR chat or anything like that?
I have not. I mean, the closest I've done, because I don't have a VR headset, but I have been in art appreciation groups in crypto voxels. It's a crypto art platform. And there are avatars around you and things like that, but you can't see their facial expressions, and it's just not the same. It's just, you see this presence, and that's really it. You see how if they've dressed themselves with certain types of clothing or whatever,
sure.
But like facial expressions, things like that, or the way they hold their body, it's just not.
Sure.
It's not
Yeah, I think that's got a long ways to go for sure, especially with the technology. I mean, if you just have the two little things and like a thing, it's not really showing everything.
Right.
But I think what I was getting at is, at least in a VR world, you have like a physical, almost like a virtual physical space that separates voices. So, when you're within proximity to somebody, you can hear them, but when you're, 10, 20 feet away from them, you won't be able to hear the conversation that's ongoing unless you're getting closer.
Right.
But that's kind of off topic. I want to know more about about your experience with having these online events, or even, how it compares to the in-person type of community management that you did before COVID. Like, tell me a little bit about the experience and what you've learned and how that's been.
Well, I've learned that the environment really affects how you interact. When I've done in-person events, they're usually, I usually like to do in-person events where people are able to interact. So I don't usually get people, at least in the in-person world, to go to a movie, right? Unless you can discuss it afterwards. But really going to a movie or, listening to opera or something like that, it doesn't allow for that constant interaction. And so my events tended to be more in places where you could talk for the majority of time. However, those certain places can be loud and don't necessarily foster a place where you can have deeper conversations. And that's the biggest difference that I think that I've seen, is I've been able to have deeper conversations with people. And also because you always have people's attention and it's not distracted by so much eye candy or many different things that are happening. You're all basically in the same room with each other, and you're all going to hear what each other has to say, unless you're in some other room or whatever. You've been put in another room, which doesn't happen casually, right? Everything is not casual. There's no casual like bumping into someone else, but there is, which is, unfortunate. But a pro is that you do get to be able to hear someone out in a better environment. You're able to have a deeper conversation. I've gotten to know people that I've never met more deeply than people I've met in person, which has been awesome.
Is it because of the lack of distraction?
The lack of distraction and the fact that you're just you're literally in a room with these people and you have their full attention, you know. There's more of this, it's more of a controlled environment.
So what made you want to start doing these online events?
Well, I think I have just a tendency towards wanting to like create fun things for people and to just create this social connection. I mean, I don't know what causes it, but it's this internal feeling. Like I even professionally am, you know, I've been hired as a community specialist. So I just have this tendency to want to create and build communities and help people connect. And I'm sure it's self-serving. I'm not the kind of person that will just go out during the pandemic, you know, and so I wanted to develop some sort of social connection while I was inside, you know, while I'm inside under lockdown or whatever. And so that was my way of doing it for everyone to continue to connect under the circumstances.
Yeah. Even before the online stuff and before the pandemic, like you were doing all this stuff. And I remember you saying before that you used to be pretty shy or like not necessarily shy, but, you know, more closed off. Were you doing events and stuff like that with your friends before, like, you know,
I was
many years ago?
I was. I mean, I wouldn't say I was shy.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I didn't mean shy. What I meant was like more closed off. There was a bit. I got to watch you, so, you know, a little pretext. Like I got to watch you kind of open up after taking our Jaunty class a lot and like open up your social circle. Right. And before that, you had your own social circle that was separate.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious as to like where where that joy of making these events came from and like where it's, you know, when it started.
Mm-hmm. I would say, okay, well, it may have been more of just finding myself and feeling like a part of something, you know. Prior to Jaunty, I would do certain things to help myself feel like I belong. In particular, there was this large girl group that I was invited into when I first moved here. And interestingly enough, I wasn't ever a part of girl groups prior to moving to the Bay Area. When I was in Chicago, it was mostly family gatherings. So it was just automatic party, you know, people would gather, it would just be family. We have a lot of people in the family. And I didn't have to work to be a part of the group. I was automatically a part of the group. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I felt very uprooted. I felt like I didn't belong to anything. And I was lucky enough to meet someone who thought I was worth bringing into her group of, you know, girlfriends. And when I first started, I actually would invite people to do things and I didn't get a lot of responses. And so in the beginning, it was very much like, you know, trying to figure out like, why aren't people interested in what I have to say? You know, I felt very like not a part of anything, but I realized, you know, on top of, you know, just being a nice person and being polite and whatnot, I was able to find certain things that people thought were fun. So I became the group's bartender, you know. So I would bring alcohol and I would literally look for shot recipes that were fun, like Jello recipes, like really interesting, like creation types of things, like, you know, lemon rinds, but putting jelly in it and things like that, you know, things that were interesting and started conversation and made people excited. And so I found a place in the group that helped bring people together and help people get excited about something, right? And so I became, you know, the bartender, even though I didn't really drink. I wasn't really a big drinker or anything. That's how
Now
I
it's just
found
every
my
day though, right? Just every day, 5 or 6.
I actually gave all my alcohol away because when I moved back here to Chicago, I just didn't want to be. I saved some wine, but other than that, I gave all my alcohol away. Anyway, so, you know, I found that. And then I realized, okay, people are starting to respond to me. And then I realized I really love themes. So I would create these party themes, or like if someone had a theme that they wanted to do, I'd make sure that I'd be within theme. Like one of my friends did a sushi party. So I would, I prepared, you know, there's a way to do sushi. There's a way to do shots in certain sushi restaurants. You like count in Japanese and then you know, you pound on. Yeah, exactly. That one. Exactly. And then, so I would make those. And so it helped, you know, it just helped. This is what helped create the whole, okay, I love making themed events, you know, and then I would just create these events.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, it sounds like it was a way for you to express yourself, right? It's like you are creating something for other people, right? This is you providing something as well as, but that theme, that's a piece of you, right? You're curating the experience. And when you have that curated experience, the people around you are associating that experience with you and what your personality is, or what you're providing for them as a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, you know, that happened for me when I moved to San Francisco, actually. And I didn't know anybody, and I had to build my own social circle. I started by having events, you know, planning little outings, and then, you know, I was in college, and I started planning parties and stuff as my social circle slowly grew. And over time, it went from, you know, getting dinner to having dinner parties at my house to having like themed events and things like this. Over time, it turned into like this social circle around me, right? Like I could call up any of my friends and say I wanted to do something. They'd be like, I'm down. Let's go to your place and meet up. Right? They were coming to me.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool. I think that's a great strategy, right? Like to be able to be the person who provides, and that's a lot of what we talk about in Jaunty, about being this high status person. The high status person introduces people to each other and becomes that person of value. You know, when you said you were coming into that relationship or in trying to get into the other groups of people, and even though you're polite and you're good, you're a nice person, and you've got a lot to offer, that you're not really actually offering something, right? It's like, well, who are you? What reason do I have to hang out with you? Which is kind of weird. It feels like a transactional thing if we take a step back and look at it, but it allows you to show that you have this capacity to give, and you have this emotional abundance, right? There's this emotional security, and you have an abundance socially, so you can invite other people, right? And especially if it's like something that you're expressing yourself with, you're like, this is something I wanted to do, and you're invited. It's not, I'm going to do this because I want you to like me. I think that's a big deal, right?
Yeah. Very true.
You know, I just moved to New York like 7 months ago, and you know, I've been slowly meeting people. I've been going out, and I've been going to different like online events and stuff like that. Less online events than you. I get zoomed out really easily. I have like the fatigue, but you know, I met people in my building, and there's been events and stuff, and you know, slowly building my circle. And I often think about like the kind of the millionaire's question of like, if I lost all my money, how would I get it back? Or, you know, if I just like suddenly lost everything, what would I do to gain it back? And I think about that in a social aspect. Like if I lost all the people in my life, if like Thanos like won in Infinity War, if he like snapped his finger and the half of the universe disappeared and it was just all my friends and all the people I knew, what would I do? Right? How would I build up my social circle again? How would I start that? And I think like moving to a new city is a great way to do that. But you know, even for you for now, right? Like you're doing online stuff and you have your established group. What if they suddenly disappeared? What would you do?
Yeah, that's what so this is a question. Okay. What would I do? Let me think. Just the friends in the I Will Survive group?
Or just or just all your friends, everybody you know.
All my friends. Okay. You know, I feel like this is what I do to build community, and I would apply that. It's about giving more than taking in the beginning. You know, it can be more equal, I guess, as you progress, but it's really about giving, and providing value for other people. And so one thing that the way that I do that is I find what I'm passionate about. I just reconnect with what I'm passionate about, and then look within that circle,
like karaoke,
or art or events, or you know, I'm into a lot of things, and finding within those circles people who have things that, you know, I love, or are doing things that I love, are passionate about the same things, finding things in common, and then really uplifting those people in different ways, whether it's spreading news about what they're doing, or showing them that you're excited about what they're doing, really just giving them a lot of value. And when you give other people value, they'll see that, hopefully, if they're observant, and want to interact in some way. And I feel that is the seed to building relationships, you know, and start one at a time. You don't have to be, you know, inducted into a group like I was, you know, when I got here. You can start with one person, which actually it did. It started with one person. You know, I met this one person. How did I even meet that person? I don't even remember. But anyways, it started with one person, and then, you know, then the whole group thing. So, I mean, you could be lucky that way, or you could just start, you know, with just do it one by one, you know. But it helps to find that community, and then focus on that one person, and then build from there.
Totally. I you know, I have experience building communities where they didn't previously exist, actually. When I was like 18, I was into parkour and free running. I had just gotten into the sport, and I actually drove down to LA and met some people who ran a meetup group there, and it was run by this guy named David Lavera, he's a professional stuntman in movies. He was in like Iron Man, did the suit stunts. He was in like Pirates of the Caribbean, and he had this group, and you know, they were training and stuff. I went and I actually did an ethnographic research paper for school on them. So I like,
wow.
I was a participant observer. I wrote like 20 pages about them. Like I got so immersed in their culture, and it was something that I was determined to start doing. And after I saw them and wrote my paper and everything, I decided I'm going to start my own subculture, my own community of people in my hometown area. And a little bit about my hometown area. My hometown is now 16,000 people. So small town area on the Central Coast of California.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's not urban. It's within it's like 200 miles from any metropolitan city. So it was like this kind of situation where there wasn't really much going on, right? And I started looking online, looking at forums, seeing like if anybody posted anything about, you know, I just typed in different keywords. I was like, you know, parkour plus San Luis Obispo, parkour plus Santa Maria, parkour plus Santa Barbara, and like I found 2 people posted on a forum like a year and a half prior. They were like, hey, is anybody doing this in this area? And they got met with 0 responses. So I ended up like figuring out, well, this shit doesn't exist, so I need to make it myself.
Yeah.
I need to make it myself. So what I ended up doing was I just copy and pasted the meetup group from LA, like exactly how they did it. I just copied it, pasted it, made Central Coast Parkour, and I lined up events to be made, and like, you know, meetups basically for meeting up and training and practicing the skills. I started training on my own, watching YouTube videos and stuff like that, and getting really into the fitness aspect of things. And with like, I think the first meetup, guess how many people showed up?
I'm going to say below 5 people.
One person. That one person was me. It was actually just me.
Okay, just you.
I was the only person who showed up to the first meetup. But the second meetup, I had like reached out to these people on the forums. The second meetup, the 2 guys from the forums showed up.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's what started our meetup group. And one of them would bring a friend, another one would bring a friend. More people, they started seeing, I was like, hey, please go on meetup.com and like say you're going to the meetup, because like when people see that there's an RSVP, they're going to come. They're more likely to come. They want to know that, you know, like it's like going to a restaurant and seeing that it's really busy. You're like, yeah, they must be good, right? Versus
Social
the restaurant
proof.
Next door. That's
Yep.
Exactly. It's social proof.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up, you know, growing that group over the course of a few years. I grew that group to about 130 members. And, you know, I met all kinds of people because of that. And I ended up learning a lot, you know, about community management, about leadership, about teaching, coaching, lots of things.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was, you know, people would come and go. People would, what I noticed, people would come and go. Some people were just tourists, right? They were just checking it out. Some people were, you know, some people were friends of friends, and they were, you know, we maybe connected in some way, but they didn't want to keep coming to the same meetups, especially when I had them at like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and they were hungover. Like, you know, they didn't want to keep coming to the meetups, or, you know, and I didn't know a lot about how to be like more flexible with things. And, you know, I had to learn so much about, you know, catering to the audience and building, and I didn't know what I wanted out of it too. I just wanted like some people to train with. And it wasn't necessarily me trying to be a leader in that aspect, or me trying to like create a community. It was just like, I just want a community, so I'm going to do it. But what ended up happening was I built some really good friendships, and I ended up creating some great opportunities for myself, you know, for my career, and for as well as just for connections, right? Like I ended up getting some sort of connection with a gymnastics gym in the area, a couple of gymnastics gym actually. So we actually had we had some like special rates and like special relationships with them, and I ended up getting offered a job. I got to teach little kids. It was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just because I was like, I didn't have this community and I wanted it. And thankfully we had the tools to do that with the internet. Like, people can actually find you.
Exactly. The internet is not fully evil.
Sometimes
It's
I feel
used
like,
in many ways.
yeah, sometimes I feel like now though, there can be overload. Like there's a billion people trying to do the same thing, especially depending on like what the subject matter is of your group or your, you know, your type of event, right? It can be overload and there's lots of competition. And
Yeah.
so you got to get better at your marketing and or whatever it is.
You
Or
have
like
to be unique in some way. Yeah.
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 It can be hard. Yeah.
So anyways, that was my story about creating a
I love it. That's so great. Yeah. Yeah, that's how you do it.
So what's next for I Will Survive Virtual Happy Hour? What's next for you in communities, especially as we're coming towards the I don't want to, I'm not predicting anything for the tail end of the pandemic, but you know, people are getting vaccinated, things are starting to open up.
Yeah, I've thought about that. I've thought about will I will survive, you know. It definitely has opened up people to become more comfortable with staying in touch with people in this way, which I think is great. But I would suspect, you know, I've moved to Chicago, so I've moved away from my friends. So I would suspect that I would have to find an in-person community as things get better, to you know, to be a part of. I haven't found that yet, but you know, I do have the Nextdoor app, and I've been talking to people in my neighborhood, you know, and finding things that we have in common. So there is that. Right now, I Will Survive is, you know, a way to have a social connection, but I'm really concentrating on the crypto art community and helping artists in that community. And those are, you know, artists, the artists I deal with are from all over the world. So that will continue to be an online community. Just the medium itself is digital. So it's natural to continue that. So there are two things I'll concentrate on.
Is it different for you to have these interactions with people that you've never actually met in person versus like some of the people that you have met in I Will Survive, you've known for years in person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is it different managing a community or you know, participating in a community with people that you don't have an in-person connection with, or that who are across the world and it you know, doesn't have like a warmer like, you know, they're a friend of a friend type of thing?
Right. I mean, I think it depends on where you take it and the type of online environment that you're offering to people. I've been able to become much closer to people who I've had only an online relationship with. Even though there's not the physical touching, we get into deep, vulnerable conversations. And I really appreciate that a lot. I've had deep, vulnerable conversations with people in person as well. I gather that the only difference is that there's no hugging and there's no, you know, being able to physically support someone by patting them on the back or, and I mean, that's important for sure. But I haven't really felt strongly that it's negatively affected my relationship or forming relationships with people.
I think also with the crypto art community, there's a context to the community too, right? It's not just like a social thing. It's not just like, oh, we're just a group of people who are playing games and being social and trying to make friends. It's like you have a context to which you're connecting to each other, and you have a shared interest or a shared drive, you know, a goal at least. So
this is true, yes.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think context dependent or context related relationships can be very helpful in one regard, right? It can be very helpful to creating an easy opening, like I did with my parkour thing, right? But then it can also be detrimental if you don't know how to take the relationship outside of that, right? Like I had the people who came to my parkour meetups, but they only came to the meetups, and we didn't hang out outside of that. And I wanted to, I didn't know how at the time, you know.
Right.
How do I escalate it? How do I get beyond that?
I know someone who's very good at doing that. Well, at least in an online way. He's one of my moderators, and it really helps to just have a one-on-one conversation with people. You know, for instance, when we have our get-togethers, he'll actually one by one say, "Hey, you know, I'd really love for you to come to this event," or, you know, "It would be so much fun to have you there." But he does it one-on-one. He doesn't do like a whole group like post, like, "Hey guys, you know, we're having a party, come on over." Right. There's something about being very personal, even, I mean, because you're not in person with someone, I think the best way to reach out is one-on-one with a person. It makes them feel important, makes them feel wanted. It makes them feel like they're just not a number. So, I mean, I guess that's a way to do that if you're not going to be in person with someone.
So do you send them an evite? Do you send them a meme? A private message? A personalized YouTube video?
You can do all those things, really. If you want to do that, you do that. I mean, I'm sure it'll make the person really feel special, almost in a creepy way.
Yeah, maybe you can go around like without them knowing. You can find out their actual address.
You know what?
Send them an Uber Eats with a message. You know.
You know, that has been a conversation in the past.
My birthday party.
You know, that's actually happened with a girlfriend of mine some time ago. Where we worked was also a person's home, and someone really liked her, so they showed up at the home.
Oh shit!
Which was also a business, but you know, the address of the home, which is a business, is public, and he showed up with flowers, and she did not feel comfortable with that. I'm not sure if he were handsome and she was actually attractive, that would change things. Attractive to her, that would change things. But you know, it can be a little creepy if you get too much information. You can have information, you know, obviously it's very easy to find information on people, but it's better to get it in person. In fact, when people tell me information in person, when I remember, I try to even take notes and remember what people's dislikes or likes are, or, you know, what they're working on, so I can ask about it next time. I'm not perfect and I don't do it all the time, but I strive to do those things, you know.
It's really thoughtful. I had a friend who actually kept a notebook with pages, like multiple pages for each of her friends, and would keep little details, you know, the big details like their date of birth and, you know, stuff like that, so that she remembers birthdays and stuff, and like likes and dislikes, like you said, like, and she would give the best gifts.
Aw, like, that's great.
And it's just like so thoughtful, right? Like it's even like at the point when it was I guess it was around Christmas time, and I just met her only a few weeks prior. And we were connecting, and she ended up getting me like a small gift, you know, just like this little gift, but it was like so personalized, that, you know, I was just like, I was enamored. I thought that was so sweet. And I'm a terrible gift giver. Like I'm one of those people who I'm like, I'm like, oh shit, their birthday's tomorrow, I need to get them something, you know, like, and my, like, growing up, my dad is like the worst person to give gifts for, because like if he wants anything, he'll just buy it. And so like you can't get him, like, you can't get my dad any sort of gift that like is like a consumer item, as consumer good, because he'll already have, like, he'll have it if he wants it. And
Right.
so like I have to like get really creative and thinking about like experiences and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just like, I don't think about it. Like maybe if I'm like, I don't go shopping that often too. So like to see something, right, it's like it's that like reminds me of a person. I think that would be the best way, but I don't go shopping that often. So like I don't think about it.
Right.
Like I think it's just the man's mind or something. I don't know. So maybe
Well, experiences are supposedly better gifts than the material objects.
Yeah,
so.
but the problem is you can buy them the experience or like the ticket to something, but they still have to go. And
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are ways to do that. You can buy a ticket for yourself too, you know. There's ways to do it.
Yeah, I suppose so. I got my dad.
Craig rolls his eyes.
No, I got my dad a thing in a float tank, like a sensory deprivation.
Oh,
float tank.
right. Yeah, those are great.
I bought it for him like 2 years ago for Christmas, and he still hasn't used it.
Oh, yeah, it happens. Yeah, you may have to drive him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. Have you done that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to do it all the time. Yeah, that and cryotherapy.
Yeah. Oh wow, I haven't done that. Tell me what that's like. I know we're going off topic.
It's basically like I mean, it doesn't matter. It's basically like a Saturday in Chicago in March.
Okay.
No, it's cold. It's like negative 220, and it's you feel like your body is going into like live or die, fight or flight mode. Like it's like you're going to die, and you get out of there and you feel like you're amazing. You're like, I live. Right? It's just this feeling of invigoration because you didn't die from freezing to death. And it also burns like up to 800 calories every time you do it.
Whoa.
So I started doing it because I was I didn't have time to go to the gym. I didn't have to I was working a ton and I didn't have time to go to the gym, and I'm like, this is 3 minutes. Like an hour in the gym or like 15 minutes of like check in, undress, go into the thing, come back, dress back up. I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Wow.
And it really got me through some rough times, and it was very helpful. Like, I don't know, it helps with muscle recovery. It helps with a lot of inflammation stuff. So I really recommend cryotherapy.
Well, it sounds like Wim Hof on steroids. So
yeah, well, that dude's like, he's in the water and stuff, and that's a different thing.
Okay.
Like, well, it's the same type of thing, but like when water feels colder than air in some degrees, right? Because the water could be 35 degrees and the air could be negative 220, and you're going to get a similar effect. Okay.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Have you been doing any crazy physical things lately, or anything, any new physical stuff or supplements in your regimen or anything like that?
Supplements. I mean, I've been making sure I have my zinc and my vitamin C. But nothing. I mean, I've when I was working for Maker's Place, or any startup really, that's not a Series A startup, but it's in seed stage or something like that. I mean, they work you to death, So, or at least from my experience. So when that was happening, I was taking like this Genius brand supplement, had mushrooms in it.
Oh yeah, like lion's mane and stuff.
With memory and
that shit
and energy. Yeah.
I've got something like that, and it gets me like wired. Like I can't take it in the afternoon. I have to take it in the morning.
Yeah.
I won't be able to sleep at night. I'll be like mind going 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy what a little bit of like mushrooms will do.
Yeah.
It's funny.
They do all kinds of things.
the last conversation I had with another Jaunty person, Ari. You know Ari, right? He we had a whole conversation about psychedelics. Just like, so it's actually, I just edited the video. I'm processing it right now, or rendering it right now on my other computer.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
It's gonna be up in a little bit, but
People microdose on psilocybin and things like that a lot in the Bay Area, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I follow this guy. His name is Kong Pham. He started with viral videos on YouTube. He did like the simple pickup stuff, and he did some other stuff where he did charities, and now he does Viral Academy.
I know him, or I know of him.
And so he has a whole video about how taking microdoses of LSD has made him more compassionate and, you know, better to his employees and had better relationships because of psychedelics.
Yeah. I can see that for sure.
Interesting stuff.
I mean, there are other ways to become more passionate, like meditating, things like that. So we're not trying to push drugs on the audience here necessarily.
I mean, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Just the good kind, you know.
Exactly.
Meth, heroin.
Yes.
Ketamine.
Yeah.
I'm not monetizing anything. Like, have you been trying to stay active during the pandemic at all? Like, have you been like physically moving around enough?
No, not enough. Like, I'll do yoga once in a while and walk once in a while, but definitely not enough of the physical. I definitely need to do more. I
recommend getting one of these.
Oh, is this a dance pad?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a Dance Revolution dance pad.
Yeah. When I do karaoke, I'll dance. I'll make sure to dance. So I'm active in that way. But yeah, that would be an awesome thing to
get. Calves of steel. Calves of steel.
That's awesome. So you don't have chicken legs. That's good.
Just my calves. There's huge calves. And everything else is tiny.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I have like, 15 minutes here and there between meetings or something. And I'm like, I need to move around a little bit. I mean, I have a gym in my building, thank God. But I don't like to do like cardio on a treadmill. That's not my thing. I'll lift weights. But
okay.
So I got 15 minutes between a meeting. I'm like, that's like 4 songs. Let's get in on there. I plug it in and I just, have a good time. Great. Get a little sweat and then put it away. So
that's really that's a great idea. I might do that.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to it getting a little bit warmer. Not too warm, but like there's a park kind of near me that I've been meaning to explore. I think it'd be nice. I don't know. I've been thinking about like eventually I'd like to get a dog.
Aww.
And for the obvious reasons, right? Like you get to go run with it, pick up chicks, make more friends. No. I've just been thinking about it and if I do, I would want to start running because that a dog would need to be active and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, dogs are healthy to have too. They help lower your blood pressure.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Or they can raise your blood pressure too. Depends on the type.
Yes, they can also do that.
my friend's mom has like a little Chihuahua that they like adopted, and it's the most skittish dog. Like it's like barking constantly at everything, and you could like be up, you can be like standing next to it, crouching next to it, petting it, and it'll just still be yapping and it's like growling at you and stuff, and you're petting it and giving it food and still like aggressive.
Poor
and he's
thing.
Like, and my friend is just like, I can't wait. Like it's like 16 years old. He's like, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Oh no.
because it raises his blood pressure. That's the thing.
Yeah. Oh. Something must have happened. I wonder what happened to him.
Yeah, they found it outside of a grocery store. He was like tied up. So they just like rescued it.
Yeah.
Plug. Yeah. What are your plugs? What are your plugs, Emery?
Well, I do this series called Rare Digital Bird, in which it's basically about artists and their body of work. We talk about particular works that they've done or are in the process of doing, and their experience using blockchain technology for their art. So we talk about that, and at the beginning of each one, I'll talk about the culture or tips or things like that for the crypto art community or people who are trying to enter or become a part of the community. So those are the things that I'm focusing on. And of course, if you want to join the I Will Survive group and have a little fun online, we do it weekly on Fridays or Saturdays. Just search for the group, the Facebook group called I Will Survive. So
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and the Rare Digital Bird series is on YouTube. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yes. Yeah. I just found it. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the links and everything, and
Okay.
You'll see it. You'll see it.
Okay.
Cool. Well, it's awesome having you. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me and catch up a little bit, as well as talk to me about communities and a little bit of social intelligence. I don't mind going off topic.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig.
I hope the Jaunty community enjoys this.
Yeah, I hope they do too. Hey, Jaunty fam.